Hi everyone, it's Penny Black and Jill Foster here with another PB&J card class. And in today's video we're going to be doing some more winter stamping featuring stamps from our new Hello Winter collection. And here is a look at the card that we will be creating today. I just love doing these very simple stamped and watercolored scenes. They're so fun to do with the winter and the snowbanks and the shadows in the background, and they're actually very simple to do. So the first thing we're going to do is do some stamping with our 40-814 panoramic stamp set. If you're looking to start doing scenic stamping or to add to your collection of scenic stamps, this one cling set has a lot of really great elements that you can mix and match with lots of different scenic stamps, even for other seasons too. So I'm going to start, and I'm going to be using the gate image here. I am stamping using my MISTI stamp positioning tool, and I'm stamping onto Canson 140-pound watercolor paper. I started by inking this with Ranger Archival ink in the color of library green, and it was just not looking quite right to me. So you will see here, I'm just going to stamp over this using Ranger Archival ink in jet black. Now I am choosing inks that are waterproof so that when I go back and do my painting on this scene, they won't bleed or blend. So I can just stamp them down and not worry about anything or having to paint around them. Now, speaking of mixing and matching stamp sets, the next one I'm going to use is our new 40-811 Picturesque, and this one works so great with the panoramic stamp set where we got that gate. So if you're looking for just two stamp sets that will really help you to be able to make a lot of different scenes, these two are awesome. So I'm positioning this tree back behind the fence, so just moving it up a little bit on the card, and I'm stamping this with Acorn Archival ink. And all of the colors and supplies of everything I'm using will be listed down in the YouTube description box below, and I will list and link all of the Penny Black supplies in that description box below as well. Now these smaller trees are actually part of the same picturesque cling stamp set, so it's really nice to get more than one size. You can really play around then with distance and perspective when you're doing your stamping. I just decided to sort of balance this scene out by stamping these smaller ones off to the sides. So inking them up again with the Archival ink in the color of Acorn and stamping them on both sides. And I'm using the stamp positioning tool just because it's very handy when stamping onto watercolor paper. It does have some texture, and so being able to stamp more than one time just gets a cleaner impression or a better impression because you can do it more than once. So I'm putting just down a layer of water into the area that I want my sky to be, and then I'm going to drop in Distress Ink Reinkers used as watercolor paints. And by putting that layer of water before I started painting the sky, it gives me some more time to blend different colors onto the background and move them and fade them up into the lighter color or the white that I want up at the top of the card. So once these dry, then it's a little bit harder to sort of move the paint around or avoid having like a line where you stopped painting or one color is blending into the other, but with that layer of water there, just makes that easier to do. It does lighten the colors a little bit, but these colors, it's one of the reasons I like to use Distress Reinkers as watercolors is because they're very bold, they're very vibrant, and so they can definitely withstand having some of that water beneath them or on the paper before you drop them into the water. If they get watered down, they still have great color. I'm mixing in some different blues and some different greens. And again, like I said, the exact colors I'm using will be listed down in the YouTube description box below. I love how already just by adding that sky, the scene is starting to come to life. I just think that's so fun. And how simple is that? It's just stamping and a little tiny bit of painting. Now here I'm adding just a little bit of shadow down at the base of the trees, sort of down here in the foreground of the image. Mixing similar colors as I used up in the sky. And then I'll add a little bit of shadowing down here on the fence posts. And there's no magic formula of like which direction the shadow needs to go. I just add a little bit of color down at the bottom here, and it just works. I think the eye sees it as it's supposed to be, and you don't have to stress about it being a perfectly light source and the shadow in the right place. You're just making a fun winter scene, and it doesn't need to be complicated. For me, that makes it feel stressful, so I like just playing with color, putting a few shadows here and there. As you can see, I'm going back up into the sky area and darkening up a little bit, playing around with that. For me, that is just the fun of this. Now, if you aren't a fan of watercolor painting, you most certainly could do this using like your distress inks with your ink blending tools and a foam pad. You could mask off the edge of the snow up at the top and then put an inked sky in and add a little bit of inking down for the shadows on the trees and the fence. So you don't have to paint to get a beautiful scene with these stamps. I'm playing around here with darkening up the shadows down here by the fence. I always like to start light and then go back and darken things up, because once it's down it's kind of hard to take it up, but you can always add more if you like. Now I wanted to give sort of a hint of a path. So if you go in through this gate, you can kind of drive or walk through this path and up over that hill in the background, and maybe it's somebody's home or a cottage or something back there. So I just wanted to add a hint of that there. There is so much more you could do with this. You could actually stamp a little house or a village in the background. You could add more trees. You could add mountains to the background. We have some really great mountain stamps, tree stamps. I mean, it's just endless how much you can do with just a couple of stamps and some paints or your inks and your ink blending tools. And that's what I love about these stamps. You could make a card just like this, but then you can slowly start playing around with different placement for the trees, or maybe you don't use the fence and you just do the trees, or you add an evergreen stamp in there. And you can slowly start to get comfortable with and just imagining all the different possibilities you can create for these scenes. I think these scenes are great for masculine cards, for winter birthday cards, thinking of you cards, and I'm going to be stamping with one of our new transparent sets. I'll give you a look at it here now that I'm done with the painting. This is our 30-881 When Snow Falls, and these sentiments are so beautiful with these scenic cards. So I'm going to just ink this up. I'm going to use that jet black Archival ink and add it right here. This sentiment just fit perfectly into this space, nestled right in there. Stamping it a couple of times just because of the texture of the watercolor paper. And then just for a final little touch, I'm using just some really cheap generic white acrylic paint and a very small detail brush from Arteza, and I'm just painting a little bit of snow here onto some of these branches. Now you could also splatter some of this paint onto the background to have actual snow falling or paint little dots on, but for this card I kind of wanted it to be like after a big snow, when the snow is kind of piled up around the trees and in that pathway beyond the gate. So I'm just putting a little bit here and there onto the branches, kind of the places where I felt it might sort of land if it had actually fallen onto the trees. And then just a few hints of that down here at the bottom of the trees for extra shadows. So here is a look at the finished card. I hope you enjoyed the process of the scenic stamping featuring Penny Black's new Hello Winter stamp collection. If you did, please be sure to give this a thumbs up and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also connect with Penny Black on Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, Twitter, as well as our website and blog, and I will link all of those for you down in the YouTube description box. Thanks for watching.